Hey Oak Tree, I'm fresh off the plane this morning from East Timor where I was spending a week visiting our grassroots community projects on the ground. And it was amazing to see arriving in Dili that even in the past 18 months since I was last there, that there's been noticeable progress in the country. This weekend, East Timor is hosting the Tour de Timor for the third time, which is an international bike race. It's Asia's toughest mountain bike race, involving this year over 600 participants, and it's a major international event. And it's amazing to think that a country that only 5 years ago it would have been unthinkable to host this is now playing host to such a large number of people. We also saw, though, in Dili, terrible human suffering. I remember walking into a health clinic and being told by an American doctor who's living there that in Timor, half the population has tuberculosis. It's the country's number one health issue. And of those 50%, 10%, 1 in 10, have the most deadly version. Which means that right now in Timor, 50,000 people are at risk of dying of tuberculosis if they don't get the right medication. And tuberculosis is a disease that we know how to treat. It's a disease that we have medication for, and yet in a country on our doorstep, thousands of people are dying every year from something that is so preventable. But what frustrated me the most about my trip to Timor was not the human suffering, because we see that on our TV screens and we read about that. It was the wasted human potential that I saw in many encounters throughout the week. One of my good Timorese friends is a guy called Anselmo, who lives in a local neighbourhood in Dili. Anselmo supports his extended family of 15 people on a single wage, working 8 till 6 every day to support his family. And Anselmo is recognised by his local community as a leader. And he's recently had an idea, and he spoke to me over the past couple of days about starting a local community centre for young people, unemployed young people, where they could come and take English courses, where they could come and learn how to play musical instruments, where they could come and do computer skills courses to gain employability skills. And Anselmo is so passionate about this idea, but he has none of the resources to get it off the ground. He's working full time. He uses every dollar that he earns to be able to support his family. And it's the fact that there are thousands of Anselmos all across East Timor, good, intelligent people who just want to improve their communities and their families, but have none of the resources to do so, that I find outrageous. It's that gets me angry and frustrated about the situation in East Timor today. What most fired me up about my time in East Timor was visiting Bafuturu, our amazing local partner in Dili. We were taken to the Dili Peace Centre, which Bafuturu established 5 years ago. And they told us that in 2006, when thousands of people were fled their homes in Dili due to violent acts and due to rioting and looting that was going on, that thousands of people moved into these 2 refugee camps on the outskirts of Dili, and that for months afterwards there was rapes, there was assaults, there was conflict between these 2 communities, and people who just were living in intolerable conditions. And so the president at the time, Jose Ramos Horta, called one of the Bafuturu staff and said, "We have a piece of land for you. We want to give you this piece of land between these 2 refugee camps, and we want to mediate and solve some of the conflict that's happening in these communities." And so this guy Vidal, who I met, he said, "I remember being with myself and my four of my mates in this piece of land, in this burnt out building, when all of the Australian aid workers and NGOs had been evacuated to Darwin. There was just the 4 of us trying to go out daily to these communities and mediate and resolve conflict and try to achieve some sort of negotiated settlement before these people could actually be resettled into their homes and have a more sustainable existence." Today, the Dili Peace Centre is this amazing place where young people can come. There's a skateboard park. There's a couple of basketball courts. There's buildings where dozens of courses are run, musical courses, theatre courses, on a weekly basis for young people all around Dili to come and have something to do, have something to enjoy. And it's you sort of walk through the centre and you feel this sense of hope and optimism about a peaceful future for East Timor. Going around Dili and talking to people, one of the things people were really worried about was the elections next year in 2012, when Timor will elect a new president and a new parliament. And people are immensely worried about the threat of violence happening again, that political parties will stir up the young people of Dili who are unemployed and cause violence. But walking away from this peace centre, I felt this sense of hope that such a strong local organisation that involves hundreds of young people could actually play a really important role in preventing that conflict from occurring again. I felt this sense of confidence that could happen. And even more so when we learn more about the targeted outreach programs that Oaktree is supporting into key communities in Dili, which is exactly the kind of critical work that needs to be done if we're to see this violence prevented in 2012. So it was absolutely an amazing week and an amazing privilege to be able to represent our organisation in Timor. And I wanted to take back to Australia a huge thank you from our partners working on the ground, Bafuturu and also Plan, to say thanks for all the work that you do in enabling their work to happen every day. A huge appreciation and thanks to all of you.